What is Shia Islam really? Not the political version, not the media version, the actual theological and historical reality of the second largest branch of Islam in the world, followed by between 180 and 250 million people. The split. What actually happened? The division between Sunni and Shia Islam began on a specific day, the day the Prophet Muhammad died in 632 CE. The question was immediate and urgent and would define Islamic history forever. Who leads the Muslim community now? One group believed leadership should go to Abu Bakr, the Prophet's closest companion, his father in law, and the man the Prophet had asked to lead prayers during his final illness. This group became what we know as Sunni Muslims. Sunni comes from the word sunnah, the example of the Prophet. They argued that the community should choose its leader through consultation and consensus among the senior companions. Another group believed leadership belonged by divine right to Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin, his son in law, the husband of his daughter Fatima, and one of the very first people to accept Islam. This group became what we know as Shia Muslims. Shia comes from Shiat Ali, the partisans of Ali. They argued that the Prophet had designated Ali as his successor at a place called Ghadir Qum on his final journey home from Mecca, and that leadership of the Muslim community was a matter of divine designation, not human election. Abu Bakr became the first caliph, then Umar, then Uthman. Ali finally became the fourth caliph, but by then decades of political tension and unresolved grief had accumulated. Ali was assassinated in 661 CE. His son Hassan made peace with the Umayyad dynasty that seized power. His second son Hussein refused to accept what he saw as illegitimate rule. The tragedy of Karbala, 680 CE. The event that defines Shia Islam more than any other took place on the 10th of Muharram 680 CE, a day called Ashura, in the desert of Karbala in what is today Iraq. Hussein ibn Ali, the grandson of the Prophet, marched with a small group of family and companions to challenge the Umayyad Caliph Yazid, whose rule Hussein considered illegitimate and morally corrupt. He had received letters from thousands of supporters in Kufa promising their support. When he arrived, those supporters had abandoned him under threat. Hussein and his small group, numbering perhaps 72 fighters including women and children, were surrounded by a Umayyad army of thousands. He was offered safe passage if he submitted to Yazid. He refused. On the morning of Ashura, battle was joined. By the afternoon, Hussein and all his male companions were dead. His head was cut off and sent to Yazid in Damascus. The women and children of the Prophet's family were taken as prisoners and paraded through the cities. The massacre of the Prophet's own grandson and his family, by people claiming to represent Islam, sent a shock through the Muslim world that has never fully subsided in 1400
Continuing
years.
the story of Shia Islam, what it actually is, what its followers believe and practice every day.
The theological foundations of Shia Islam. Shia Islam is not simply Sunni Islam with a different political history. Over the centuries, it developed distinct theological emphases and religious practices that make it a genuinely different and rich expression of the Islamic faith, one that deserves to be understood carefully on its own terms. The Imamate. The central theological concept unique to Shia Islam is the Imamate, the belief that the Muslim community requires a divinely guided imam from the lineage of the Prophet through Ali and Fatima. The Imam in Shia theology is not simply a political leader. He is a spiritual guide endowed with divinely granted knowledge and the preserved ability to interpret Islam authentically for every generation of believers. He is considered infallible in religious matters. This concept does not exist in Sunni Islam, and it represents the deepest theological difference between the two traditions. The 12 Imams. The largest branch of Shia Islam, called Twelver Shia and representing the great majority of Shia Muslims worldwide, believes in a line of 12 Imams beginning with Ali ibn Abi Talib and ending with Muhammad al-Mahdi, who entered a state of occultation, divine concealment, in 941 CE. Twelver Shia believe he is alive, preserved by God,
will return at the end of times and will establish justice on earth alongside the return of Jesus Christ. Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, and Azerbaijan are all predominantly Twelver Shia. Ashura. The commemoration of the martyrdom of Hussein at Karbala is the most important and most emotionally powerful religious observance in Shia Islam. On the 10th of Muharram every year, tens of millions of Shia Muslims around the world gather to mourn, weep, and remember the sacrifice of the Prophet's grandson. For Shia Muslims, the sacrifice of Hussein represents the eternal human struggle of justice against oppression, and every generation must consciously and personally choose which side it stands on. The shrines. Shia Islam has a rich tradition of pilgrimage to the shrines of the Imams. The shrine of Hussein in Karbala, the shrine of Ali in Najaf, the shrine of Imam Reza in Mashhad, Iran. The Arba'in pilgrimage to Karbala, held 40 days after Ashura, regularly draws over 20 million pilgrims, making it the largest annual human gathering anywhere in the world. Shia jurisprudence. Shia Islamic law follows the Jafari school, named after Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, one of the most brilliant scholars in Islamic history. The Jafari school differs from the four Sunni schools on specific legal questions, including the precise timing of prayers, the call to prayer, and inheritance rules. But in the vast majority of daily religious practice, prayer, fasting, zakat, hajj, and ethical conduct, Sunni and Shia Muslims follow the same prophet, the same Quran, and the same fundamental
The final
framework.
part, what Shia Islam looks like in the world today, the pivotal role it plays in global geopolitics, and what both great traditions ultimately and profoundly share. Shia Islam in the world today. Approximately 10 to 15% of the world's 1.8 billion Muslims are Shia, between 180 and 250 million people. They are not a footnote in Islamic history. They are one of the largest religious communities on earth, with a civilization, literary tradition, theological depth, and spiritual heritage that spans 1,400 years and produced some of the greatest scholars, mystics, poets, and scientists in human history. Iran. Since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iran has been the world's only Shia Islamic republic. Ayatollah Khomeini introduced the concept of Wilayat al-Faqih, the guardianship of the Islamic jurist, which holds that a senior religious scholar should govern the state as the representative of the hidden imam until his return. This political concept is accepted by some Shia scholars and genuinely and sometimes vigorously contested by others, even within Shia Islam itself. Not all Shia scholars supported the revolution or endorsed this particular model of governance. The debate continues actively within Shia theological circles today. Iraq. Iraq is approximately 60 to 65% Shia Muslim. For decades under Saddam Hussein, the Shia majority was brutally and systematically suppressed. The American invasion of 2003 removed Saddam and dramatically shifted political power toward the Shia majority. The resulting sectarian conflict, with its devastating human consequences, is one of the defining tragedies of the early 21st century, and one rooted partly in the colonial borders that had artificially forced deeply different communities together without their consent or consideration. The Sunni-Shia relationship. The theological differences between Sunni and Shia Islam are real and should not be minimized. The historical grievances run deep on both sides, and political actors, states, terrorist organizations, and foreign powers have repeatedly and cynically exploited those differences for their own geopolitical interests rather than the well-being of Muslim communities. But it must be said clearly and emphatically, the vast majority of Sunni and Shia Muslims throughout history have coexisted peacefully, sharing cities, neighborhoods, markets, and schools for centuries. The sectarian violence that dominates headlines is driven by political calculation, not by sincere faith or honest theology. What unites Sunni and Shia Muslims is immeasurably greater than what divides them. The Quran, the Prophet, the five pillars,
the love of the Prophet's family, the hope for justice in this world and God's mercy in the next. Like, if this changed your view, share with someone who has always wondered. Subscribe. Truth every day. I'm Noor. This is Islam with Noor. Thank you for listening.